Welcome to Reddit After Hours. This is r/Am I the Butthole, where OP confronts her husband's work wife and things don't go so good for her. Our first Reddit post comes from Educational Coast 995, titled, "Am I the butthole for yelling at my mom after she called me a guest in my own home?" So I, a 15-year-old female, have a pretty up and down relationship with my mom. Sometimes she's really sweet. Just last week, she told me that she loved me and apologized for being rough on me as a kid and even snuggled with me. It meant a lot to me, and I actually let my guard down, thinking maybe things were finally going to be different between us. Recently, she also opened up to me about losing a baby about 13 years ago. She knows I love kids, so I don't really understand why she randomly decided to tell me that. I confronted her, but afterward, I went to my room and cried because it really hurt to hear. On top of that, she's been struggling with her job and dealing with a lot of stress, which I do understand, but I don't think that gives her an excuse to treat me the way she does. Today I wasn't feeling great because I'm on my period, and I just wanted to keep things peaceful. So when we had a little argument earlier, I decided to be the mature one and went into her room to apologize. While I was there, I told her that I really needed her to stop yelling at me all the time. She yells at me constantly, but if I ever raise my voice, she acts like I'm being completely unreasonable. I told her I don't deserve to be treated like that, and that if she wants respect, she also needs to show me respect. That's when things started to spiral. Instead of listening, she snapped at me and said that I was a, quote, guest in my own home and that I should get a real job because I was lazy. That really upset me because I do have a job. I work for a lady soap business and I babysit frequently. I also never ask her for money, so it felt so unfair to be called lazy, especially when I already really wasn't feeling well. I got emotional and told her, "What kind of mother says that to her own daughter? You were so kind to me last week telling me how much you love me. You apologized for being rough on me as a kid. You even snuggled me. You were a real mom, and I was so grateful because I stupidly thought that you were actually going to be kind to me." She interrupted me and said, "Yeah, well, I miss the daughter who just did what I asked." That made me snap, and I ended up yelling at her. I was just so frustrated and hurt that she could flip on me like that, especially after being so nice just days ago. After that, I went downstairs to grab my popcorn so I could lay on the floor because my period cramps were getting really bad. But as soon as she saw me, she started yelling again, saying, "The audacity you have. You are the most spoiled, bratty B-word of a daughter, and I can't even handle you," which honestly was just insane to me. Then she brought up the fact that her dad, my grandfather, had just gotten out of the hospital, which is true, but I don't know why she threw that in my face. He's my grandpa too, and I'm really close to him. It's not like I don't care about him, but I just don't see how that justified her screaming at me while I was trying to deal with my cramps. Finally, she told me that if I hated it here so much, that I should just leave. Now she's acting like I'm the bad guy for yelling, even though she's been screaming at me this entire time. I know yelling isn't the best way to handle things, but I was overwhelmed and I didn't know how else to react in the moment. Am I the butthole? OP, I think this is a really clear cut you are not the butthole here. First of all, what did you say? You're only 15? Your mom is supposed to be the adult and be the bigger person, not you. And while that's good that you're trying to be the bigger person at times, your mom should not be letting her stress and whatever she's going through affect how she treats you. And telling you that you can just leave and get out, where are you supposed to go? She's supposed to be your guardian. It's not like you can just leave and rent an apartment or anything. You're only 15. Definitely not the butthole, OP. If I were you when I was 18, or at least when I graduated high school, I would go to college and never look back. I'm not saying don't talk to her or anything like that, but, I would look to get out of that situation as soon as you can, OP. Our next Reddit post comes from Lobster Lopsided 6038, titled, "Am I the butthole for hanging up on my family when my sister just had her baby?" I have two sisters, who I'll call Sally and Bo for the purposes of this story. I am close to both, or at least I thought I was. Bo got married a few years ago and had been having fertility issues. She and her husband finally conceived through IVF, and I was ecstatic for her when I found out that she was finally pregnant. There have been a few times over the years where I've felt purposely left out of things. I was the only one who never got an invitation to Bo's graduation. She thought I wouldn't want to go was the excuse. When our grandfather passed away, they had a big family get together a few days later, and of course, I was the only one not invited. They didn't think that I want to go to that either for some reason. When Bo had her baby shower, she organized it on a day where she knew I wouldn't be able to attend. Although this really upset me, I still dropped off at my parents' house a beautiful hamper full of things that I had been buying for the baby and Bo, and included a handmade blanket that one of my aunts, who recently passed, hand knitted for my little boy when she found out that I was pregnant 6 years ago. Throughout her pregnancy, Bo has said that the day that she had the baby, she only wanted our parents and her husband's parents to visit the hospital, and that they wanted the first 24 hours at home by themselves with no visitors, as they have a dog, and wanted him to get used to the baby first. I totally understood this, and it was fine by me. Bo has had multiple medical complications through her pregnancy, which has meant that she had to have an early C-section. I spoke to Bo the day before and told her that my day was clear. I did have work, but nothing was going on, and that if she needed me, she knew where I was, and that I couldn't wait to hear from her. We didn't know the gender or anything yet, so I was very excited for her. On the day of the birth, I get a Facebook call around 1 p.m. from Bo, in which she and my dad introduced to me my beautiful nephew. I was delighted. Bo then handed the phone to my mom as a nurse came in. My mom then informed me that Sally was there. My joy turned into devastation. I asked my mom why I hadn't been invited to the hospital too. She said because I was working, that they had thought that I wouldn't be able to go. I told her that that was an issue for me to deal with, and that if they had asked, my manager would have let me leave to enjoy that moment with my family. But instead, they were all there enjoying that beautiful moment without me again. I hung up in tears for my mom. I've removed myself from the family group chat now. I spoke to my manager at work, who said that she absolutely would have definitely let me leave for the afternoon, and was shocked that my family have done that. I messaged my mom afterwards and told her how upset I was, and her response was simply, "I'm sorry you feel that way." My manager said that she's gaslighting me and said that my feelings are absolutely valid. But was I overreacting? Am I the butthole for hanging up on my family? OP, I don't know what's going on here, but it really does sound like, for whatever reason, they just don't want to include you in things. Maybe they just don't like you as much as your sister, or maybe they're just playing favorites and you're just not the favorite child. And I think you're kind of starting to realize that, or at least that's just kind of what it seems like reading this post. If I were you, I would just stop showing up to things and just see what they say. See if they actually start inviting you to things, or even get concerned that you're not showing up to things. And if they don't bat an eye at you not showing up to things, then you have your answer. And if that really is the case, then I don't know, OP, you might just be better off without this headache than feeling all this resentment for not getting invited to things and having it make you sad. I don't know, OP, but your feelings are valid, and it does kind of sound like they're acting weird towards you, and I'm really not sure why. Our next Reddit post comes from FrameNo4349, titled, "Am I the Butthole? Work-Wife Confrontation." So I, a 35-year-old female, have been married to my husband, who's 40, for about 8 years. We've been together for almost 15 years. No cheating, no dishonesty, just trust and love. He's very attractive and very successful. He credits me to getting him there, as he jokes that he'd be a bum if I wasn't in his life to motivate him. He's very successful in his field, though. He has an employee who's a 23-year-old female that he is currently mentoring. I occasionally come with our son to do a supervised visit and bring brownies. I have not met this 23-year-old female before, but I have heard about her, and she seemed nice, and I was really happy that she was learning a lot from him. So we came by his office after our son's newest accomplishment, as he wanted to see his dad and bring a plate of brownies. I ran into her and asked where my husband was. She was like, "Who are you and what do you want with my work hubby?" in a giggly voice. I simply stated that I'm here to bring brownies to him and his coworkers, and that I am his wife. She looked shocked. He does wear a ring at work, and after that, she led me to his office. You can't just walk in here, but I could see that her demeanor totally changed, and now she was pouting. I brought it up to my husband that I thought it was weird, and I don't like the work hubby/wife culture, and that it's not appropriate. He agreed, and he said that he has never thought of her as anything but an employee and said that he'd have a talk with her. He came home about an hour ago and informed me that they actually fired her due to some inappropriate actions and intentions. I feel bad for the girl, as this is a high-powered company and hard to get into. So, was I the butthole for mentioning that I was uncomfortable with his employee calling herself his work life only for her to end up losing her job? And then OP adds, the reason I'm against the work hubby / wife title is that once I was called a work wife by a coworker because I was nice and attentive basically to everyone and tried to help out when I could, but I was uncomfortable with it and I said, no, I'm my husband's wife. I'm just trying to be a good employee and work friend, so please don't confuse the two. I was treated with a lot more respect from then on. OP, 10 out of 10, not the butthole here. I think you did exactly what you should have done in this situation. You had an issue, and instead of making a big scene in front of everyone when she said, that's my work hubby, in a giggly voice, which, if I were you, I probably would have made a scene. But you didn't. You privately talked to your husband and said, hey, I have an issue with XYZ. I don't think it's appropriate. And he kind of did what he needed to do from there and respected that boundary that you had. You did nothing wrong. And I mean, yes, it does suck that she lost her job, but you're right. The whole work wife culture is inappropriate. She should not be calling someone her work hubby, especially if that's her one supervisor and an actual married man. So she kind of made her own bed, OP. So you didn't do anything wrong. Our next Reddit post comes from Ripley1991, titled, Am I the butthole for telling a parent that they were in the quiet coach? I was on the London to Edinburgh train. For the most part, it was a peaceful journey. A mother got on at the Newcastle stop with her child, who was around 8 to 10 years old, who proceeded to scream as he was crashing his toy cars into each other. It was absolutely piercing through me and my noise-canceling headphones. I could tell from the reaction of other passengers that they felt the same way. I purposely booked the quiet coach because I just wanted some peace and quiet. The train was not busy and there were plenty of seats in the 8 other coaches. This is how the conversation went. Me, hi, this is the quiet coach. It would be great if you could keep it down. Mother, he's autistic. Me, I understand that, but this is still the quiet coach. The mother then proceeded to ignore me and then scroll through her phone. A guy got up and told me to behave and that it's a child. My response was, I understand that, but it doesn't make a difference if it's an adult or a child. This is still the quiet coach. Eventually, I moved to another coach because it was actually soul-destroying listening to the child while the mother sat and played games on her phone. Another few people followed not long after. Am I the butthole? I appreciate the mother's claim that her child has autism, but I fail to see how that's an excuse to inconvenience the whole quiet coach. I would be more understanding if the train was packed, but it really wasn't, so she could have easily moved elsewhere. OP, that's a tough one, because although I know you want to be understanding of people's disabilities and not, make them feel less than for it. And, to kind of preface this, I have a brother who's autistic also, right? But even in knowing that, I would never, ever, if he was that loud or couldn't control himself, book a quiet car and ruin everyone else's time and be deliberately disrespectful to everyone else because I know that he has, this condition. So I would take him into a car that, is not a quiet car where everyone else is being loud so he can be as loud as he wants. And then if, someone has a problem with him being loud, I would tell them, hey, this is not the quiet car and he has autism, so buzz off. So OP, I definitely don't think it's inappropriate for you to say that to her. In fact, I think I would be more triggered by her even not making a single attempt to quiet him down, knowing that she's in the quiet car. Like if she purchased a ticket for the quiet car and she tried to get her kid to be quiet but failed, that's one thing. But this parent just felt so entitled to just not care about anyone else but her, and that makes her a huge butthole. Our next Reddit post comes from Competition Queasy 247, titled, Am I the butthole for not disciplining my children for spoiling their new stepfather's birthday? I have 2 kids with my ex, age 14 and 12. It's been about 10 years since my ex and I broke up and we're not on the best of terms. All communication is generally through an app unless speaking face to face, which is very rare. She got married to her new husband in August of last year. Her husband's birthday was last weekend, and according to her, the day of, she had a whole day planned together for her, him, and the kids. But the kids had rotten attitudes the whole day and spoiled his birthday dinner that night with his family. She claimed that they refused to wish him a happy birthday, tried to get out of spending the day with them, and were sullen at dinner. And when she talked to them about it on Sunday, they told her that they didn't see why they had to celebrate her husband when she doesn't ever want them to celebrate me. That's basically referring to the fact that I always took my kids shopping for gifts for their mom for her birthday and for Mother's Day, and I'd let them drop the gifts off on her birthday if I had them, or I would send them to their moms with the gifts if her birthday fell during her custody time. The kids typically ask, and I know they have asked her to do the same for me, and she always refuses, which bothers them a lot. My ex has disliked me doing that. She said that it's trying to make her look like a bad mom/parent because she won't do the same for our kids with me. There's also bad blood surrounding the relationship with her husband and the kids. She wanted them to keep it from me when she was dating him, but they didn't. That's been a sticking point ever since too. The kids don't like him. They mostly just ignore him, but the birthday celebration made that difficult. Add the fact that she had said no to them when they asked for her help in getting stuff for me, and it's all a very messy situation. And honestly, I don't care. My kids didn't do anything dangerous. They also didn't make a big scene. For me, it's not great, but I'm not that invested in those relationships over there, so I still don't care. My ex expected me to carry on these consequences that she set for the kids at their house for their behavior on her husband's birthday, but I didn't. She realized this when she saw her daughter with her friends on Wednesday, and my ex was pissed enough to come by the house and yell at me. She said that I should be presenting a unified front with her on this and demanding they treat her husband better as their third parent. I just told her to leave and close the door. Then, yesterday, my kids saw her outside the diner that they typically go to with friends on Thursdays. They said that she didn't look happy, so I guess that she's getting ready to confront me about it again, potentially. Am I the butthole for not disciplining the kids for the birthday incident? Definitely not the butthole, OP. It's not like you're doing anything to try to make your kids not like this guy. It sounds like a lot of why your kids don't like this guy is because how you treat your ex-wife is vastly different than how your ex-wife treats you when it comes to the kids. And your kids see it. Your kids are picking up on it, and your kids don't like it. They don't like the double standard, and it's, showing. So I think it'd be different if you were actively trying to get your kids to hate him, but you're not. You're just not punishing them for not liking him, and I think that's very reasonable, actually. Definitely not the butthole, OP. That was Reddit After Hours, bringing you r/Am I the Butthole. Thank you all so much for listening, and if you like these stories, like and subscribe as we post a new Reddit video almost every single day.